I don't understand why I should bother preparing a meal for someone without any blood relation like you. There's no blood tie between us. So why do you think you can use the word family? Don't get ahead of yourself just because you're newly wedded. I really want to know why you're here in this house. All I truly desire is time with my son and adorable grandchild. I want special time just for the family. Could someone in your position perhaps be a bit more modest?
In the bright living room of my husband's family's home, a heavy atmosphere lingered. The source was the harsh words from Lisa. I was constantly hurt by her words. During those days, an incident suddenly occurred.
Mom, something's wrong. Grandma.
Seeing Mary's hurried voice and pale face, my heart raced. My name is Jennifer. I married David when I was 25, and by 29, we were blessed with a daughter named Mary. After marriage, I left my job to dedicate myself to family life. I'm currently 39. We enjoy a warm family life in a comfortable apartment downtown, but there's a shadow over our life. Lisa's constant harsh attitude. I've been the target of her criticism. Our marriage didn't seem to match her ideals, a sentiment I've heard from her own mouth. From the beginning, she's displayed various negative attitudes and occasionally condemned us. Without notice, she'd enter our apartment and criticize how I managed the household or cooked, especially regarding children. She'd pressure me before Mary's birth to make sure it's a boy. Also, she'd bring old clothes saying they fit me perfectly or send slightly old vegetables without notifying me as a gesture of goodwill. In essence, she's been making my life difficult. What keeps me going is that David and Mary stand firmly by my side. David always protects me whenever I face Lisa's criticism, and Mary, undeterred by the unfair criticisms she hears from Lisa about me, asserts,
I can't accept a grandma who belittles my mom.
Every time we visited David's parents' home, Lisa would ruthlessly make sarcastic remarks about me, even in front of her husband, which honestly troubled me. Although my Ken would scold her every time, her attitude remained unchanged, and her cold demeanor towards me persisted. On a particular day, when Mary came back from school, normally, the moment she'd open the door, she'd cheerfully call out,
Mom, I'm home.
But that day, she came in silently. Welcome back, Mary. What's the matter today? Did something happen? Are you feeling unwell?
I'm back, Mom. You? I'm fine. Nothing's really wrong.
But judging by her complexion and the glint in her eyes, something seemed different. Mary is always cheerful and never stops smiling. Seeing her change worried me deeply. She's approaching middle school, a time when various concerns arise. I didn't want to push her to talk about it, but as a parent, I couldn't just leave her be without trying to understand. I knew that David would be home late from work that night, so dinner would be just the two of us. I decided to take advantage of this and gently draw out her feelings during dinner. Mary, I'm really worried when I see you troubled. Whenever you say I'm fine, I often feel like you aren't. If you're hiding or struggling with something, I want you to talk to me. I won't get mad, and I'll keep your secret. Please remember I'm on your side. Can you share it with me? After slowly putting down her rice bowl and chopsticks, she seemed to think deeply. With a determined expression, she began to speak. Despite being only 10, she tried to explain the situation to me in detail. After school, Mary went to play with her friends. As usual, they went to a vacant lot a bit far from our house, a place they really liked and often had fun. But on her way home that day, Mary witnessed a shocking scene. She saw my Lisa holding hands with a young man I've never seen, walking happily together. Moreover, she saw them exchange a kiss. With the surprise and shock of that moment, she rushed home. As I listened to Mary, I was astounded imagining that shocking sight. It's unimaginable that my 65-year-old Lisa would act like that in public, especially in a place where children pass by, shamelessly exchanging a kiss. I deeply felt the enormity of the shock of the scene Mary witnessed. Sensing the surprise and turmoil in Mary's eyes, I suggested she take a bath to calm down. Using that short time, I hurried to a nearby convenience store and bought the vanilla-flavored ice cream she particularly loved. Though we usually avoid eating sweets before bedtime, I decided to make an exception given the circumstances. Mary, who had been downcast for a long time, slowly began to regain her smile as she savored her favorite ice cream. Still, I felt the shock was still lingering in her innocent heart. I might need to carefully observe her feelings and behavior for the next few days. As Mary eventually settled down and went to sleep, David returned home after a while. It hurt to relay the unexpected news to David, who's always busy, but I couldn't keep it a secret. With that thought, I began telling David everything I heard from Mary. David, who was sitting on the living room couch sipping beer to relax, suddenly grimaced as he heard my story.
No way, is it really true?
I could strongly feel his astonishment. Afterward, the two of us calmly discussed how we should handle this situation going forward. Regarding your mom, what should we do? Should we inform your dad about the truth? If he remains unaware, it might cause trouble later on.
We can't ignore it. But if we are to tell him, it's better to have concrete evidence. If it's only based on Mary's words, The true nature of the event might be vague.
I nodded in agreement with David's words. To thoroughly investigate the suspicions about Mylisa, we decided to hire a private investigator. The detective agency's investigative skills were truly impressive. Just a few days after a request, we received numerous photos that shed light on the relationship between Mylisa and the young man. In the pictures, Mylisa, dressed in flashy clothes and suitable for her age, was seen having a great time with the young man. It was heart-wrenching to see, but an inevitable step to uncover the truth. Furthermore, a detailed investigation by the agency revealed the hidden motives behind the young man. He was a college student targeting elderly women, exploiting them for money and gifts under the guise of sugar mommy activities. It turned out that Mylisa had been buying him expensive items. Among the evidence, there were photos capturing their cheerful conversations in front of luxury brand stores downtown. It wasn't just an affair. There was a high possibility that Mylisa was being deceived and used by him. However, there was also a chance that she felt their relationship was a deep romantic one. Certainly, the evidence we gathered was substantial enough to reveal her actions. Regardless of what anyone might say, it would be hard to deny that evidence. What we were currently pondering over was the timing of when to inform the Ken. David and I were trying to find the perfect moment to tell him the truth. Just then, a sudden message came to David's cell phone from Lisa, inviting us to visit their house this weekend. Although this was unexpected, we thought of it as a very convenient opportunity. Whenever we visited their house, for some reason, Lisa would target me and complain about trivial things. Recalling my previous visits, there's a high likelihood that she would act similarly this time. If that's the case, we could expose her actions on the spot. Her current peaceful demeanor might only last until she learns the truth, and the day finally arrived. Normally, visiting their house is something I'm not enthusiastic about, but this time, a different emotion was sprouting. Today is the day we reveal Lisa's double face and expose the truth. With that resolution, our family stood at the entrance of their home. As soon as David pressed the doorbell, Lisa greeted us with a broad smile. Seeing her face, acting as if she knew nothing and did nothing wrong, a surge of anger welled up inside me.
Oh, David, Mary, welcome. I've prepared a special delicious lunch, so look forward to it. Come on in.
As expected, Lisa's attitude felt very cold. It was as if I wasn't even there. She deliberately ignored my presence, avoiding my gaze by turning her back on me. Her overt behavior made my heart flutter slightly. However, recalling past experiences, this behavior was anticipated. I vowed to myself to stay composed. David, sensing my feelings, seemed about to say something to her, but I gently squeezed his hand, signaling him to refrain for now. It was still a time for patience. Given the developments to come, it would be better to let her act as she wishes for now, and then reveal all the truths at once. As we entered the living room, the Ken was sitting calmly on the couch, watching TV.
Jennifer, Mary, and David. Thanks for coming. We don't have much here, but please make yourselves at home.
The Ken, as always, calls my name first. For him, it might be an everyday greeting, but for me, that single word warms my heart. After greeting the Ken, Lisa happily began talking to David.
For today's lunch, I ordered something special for delivery. Let's eat it quickly, everyone. I'm sure it will suit everyone's taste.
As she said this, she began to set the table. In the dishes, there were pizza in the beautiful white dishes. A delicious-looking cheese was poured. The moment I saw these dishes in front of me, it certainly looked very appetizing. However, for me, it was something I could never eat. The reason is that I have a wheat allergy. Lisa should have known this from before. Lisa, as I mentioned before, I have a wheat allergy. Therefore, I can't eat this. I'm sorry. As I apologized, Lisa coldly replied,
Of course, I know that.
She replied succinctly. She continued speaking.
You don't need to remind me every time, because I never prepared pizza for you from the beginning. Our family consists of Dad, David, Mary, and me, just the four of us. I don't see why I should prepare a meal especially for an outsider like you. I really wonder why you are even here in our house. I only invited David and Mary. Jennifer, maybe you should be more considerate in someone else's house.
She continued to pour out her feelings without holding back.
Jennifer, I'll say it clearly now. What do you intend to do being a housewife and not even doing the housework properly? David works hard every day. What are you doing at home? Are you interested in something else, like having a relationship with another man? I can't help but think that if you have so much free time, you might be doing something like that. Just thinking about it disgusts me.
I was surprised by her words but listened calmly. The expression on David's face, standing next to me, clearly showed his astonishment and discomfort. An exasperated expression was evident on his face. However, this was the perfect timing for us. The evidence we're about to present, it's okay, right?
No problem.
The actions Lisa had taken in the past, especially the impact on Mary, were something we could not overlook. Taking a deep breath, I took out a photo from my bag. The photo clearly recorded the Lisa's actions. Holding the photo, I resolutely handed it not to the Lisa, but to the Ken. The Lisa and Ken picked up the photo, meticulously checking its content. Even in a brief moment, their facial expressions changed dramatically. The Ken's face turned bright red with anger, while the Lisa went pale blue from shock and confusion. Looking at their drastically altered faces, it felt like witnessing a traffic light. I even felt a hint of dark humor.
What on earth is this about?
I calmly began to explain. It's clear from the photo. It shows that you, Lisa, have an inappropriate relationship with that man. Our daughter, Mary, has seen it too. You accused me of having an affair, but maybe you were actually talking about yourself.
That's not true. James is just a friend. I didn't.
She stopped mid-sentence, suddenly covering her mouth with her hand. She inadvertently revealed his name.
Who is this James?
Lisa, it seems you've given this James numerous expensive gifts. I bet the total amount is significant. As a homemaker devoted to family, where are you sourcing such funds? Are you possibly using the money that the Ken has saved over the years without his knowledge? The Lisa's face showed a mix of shock and confusion, and she seemed unable to counter my confrontational words. She might be puzzled by my unexpectedly aggressive attitude.
Mom, Dad has always cared for and protected you. Yet, why are you having an affair? I also can't understand why you treat Jennifer so coldly. It's truly regrettable.
Grandma, do you truly love Grandpa? Making Grandpa feel this way is unforgivable. I can't forgive you anymore.
Their words came from deep within, and their stance criticizing Lisa was evident.
Honestly, there were suspicious parts in your recent actions, including frequently going out. I discreetly checked the bank book, and there were records of regular withdrawals. However, I never dreamt you'd have an affair with such a young man.
He shook his head repeatedly, expressing his astonishment. On the other hand, Lisa, who was cornered, was furious.
Don't interfere with my life choices. This is my life.
Ken's anger was evident in response to her words.
Get out.
With a forceful shout, he drove Lisa out of the house. His intense anger did not subside even after several days, leading to a significant rift between the two. Eventually, they decided to divorce. Unable to work and with her savings depleted, Lisa could no longer provide financial support to James, whom she once gave everything to. As a result, James abandoned her, leaving her isolated. When she relayed this to us, despair and regret echoed in Lisa's voice.
David, now you're the only one I can rely on. I've lost all contact with James. Please help me. And Jennifer, please forgive my mistakes.
Mom, this is the result of the choices you made in your life. Why are you seeking help now? No sympathy arose for Lisa, especially when she took actions that could traumatize Mary.
Under such circumstances, we made the final decision to report her to the police and had her evicted from the house. Furthermore, to protect his family, Ken informed all the relatives about Lisa's infidelity and past actions, leaving her with nowhere to seek help. Currently, she is forced to live alone in a small apartment, struggling to pay alimony. This situation is a result of her own choices. She brought this upon herself. As a result of the divorce, Ken, now alone, started to live with us. What was surprising was that Ken genuinely enjoyed interacting with the kids. Every weekend, he would take Mary by the hand and take her out to various places, like parks, zoos, and movie theaters. By spending time in various places, Mary began to look forward to her days with Grandpa. As a result, her painful memories and past events started to fade, and it seemed she was regaining peace of mind. Moreover, Ken, feeling it wasn't enough to just live in her house, began helping with daily chores. Initially, I had to guide him through everything, but now he's become proficient, even preparing dinner on days I'm busy. This allowed me to find the time and opportunity to try working part-time outside after a long time. Initially, there was some confusion returning to work, but I rediscovered the joy of working outdoors and now aim to upgrade my skills and even acquire certifications. Living together with Ken, we feel a noticeable improvement in our quality of life. Ken had always been there for me, even when I endured Lisa's bullying. Even now, he offers unwavering support and assistance in various ways. It's truly unbelievable how Lisa betrayed such a warm and understanding person without being trapped by impulsive desires and temptations. I want to truly appreciate and cherish the happiness we now have.
I'll be leaving and taking half of the staff with me. In front of me, envelopes were scattered about. Each one said, "Resignation letter." Half, that implies Derek must have discarded 30 letters of resignation. There is a significant problem with about half of the staff quitting this organization. It appears that you have finally been held accountable for your deceit. It turns out that your father was as awful a CEO as I had assumed, and you disregarded my advice. In any case, we're leaving this organization. I was shocked by the blatant brutality of what he said. Perhaps his death was the only punishment he deserved. Case, we're leaving this organization. Shocked by the blatant brutality of what he said. It appears that Direct didn't hear my concerns, even though I believed I had been paying attention to them all along. I looked away, now unconcerned about him and the others, and casually replied, "Go right ahead." What? Did he truly believe that I would try to stop him? I heard Direct's astonished voice. Before long, they will regret leaving my company. Kirk is my name. I recently assumed the position as head of the General Affairs Department of a food processing company, and I recently turned 40. My father, Sam, the CEO, told me it was time for me to assume a leadership position, whether or not it constituted nepotism. Even though this year is his 60th birthday, he appears older than his actual age. He appears worn out these days, maybe as a result of bearing the burden of responsibility for so long. I was completely taken aback when he abruptly gave me the department head position. I had no idea how to manage a team because, up until now, I had been an ordinary employee. But I gave it my all since I knew my father trusted me to do the job. We frequently have discussions like this. It wouldn't be fair to appoint you CEO right immediately, so let's start with department head. I intend to turn the company over to you eventually. I'm confident you can manage it. Thank you for the trust, Dad, but I already had a lot of department head duties. I doubt that I could manage the role of CEO. You'll be all right. There are many trustworthy allies on your side. My father started making mistakes at work because he was tired, which damaged the company's reputation and eventually caused business to drop. Foster Foods was the one that offered assistance at that trying time. They kept doing business with us at a discount, and their CEO owed my father a favor. I've heard that the agreement between our businesses went something like this. Your father assisted us many years ago when my company was about to fail. I'm simply returning the favor. I sincerely appreciate it. You've really come to our rescue. Foster Foods helped keep my father's business from going bankrupt. I was incredibly appreciative of Foster Foods' assistance because so many other partners had stopped doing business with us. Furthermore, through a special relationship, I got married to Molly, the daughter of the CEO of Foster Foods. She has helped me both professionally and personally ever since. Her assistance was crucial during my hectic workdays as department head, especially since I had a tendency to overlook my personal life. Molly and I got along well, and my days felt full and fulfilling, even if our marriage was founded on mutual benefit. I asked her one day, with a hint of concern, "We ended up in a marriage without love. Are you truly comfortable with that?" She gave a soft smile after appearing a little taken aback. There is absolutely no issue. This marriage was a blessing for me because I had been dealing with a stalker. In addition, I like spending time with you. I felt a great feeling of relief to know that she truly cared about me. That day signaled the coming of new employees at our organization in the spring of a year later. As their boss, it was my responsibility to properly mentor the new hires joining our department. They probably still had a lot to learn because the most of them were inexperienced and recently graduated from school. It was my job to make sure they could show off their skills to the fullest and stay out of trouble. All right, I'm leaving. Good luck and be careful. Oh, and could you email me on my work phone if I get a call at home regarding the restaurant? They might not be aware of the temporary number because I sent my own phone in for repairs. Got it. The message I cited was about a personal situation that I typically manage on my own phone, not work-related. I assumed they would probably call a home phone instead, as it was out for repair. Molly. I was a little concerned that Molly could accidentally forget my personal number and call it out of habit. Early to prepare as a department head. By around 8:00 a.m., the new hires started to arrive. We'd already met during the orientation, but I still felt a little nervous. Our company's future rests on your shoulders, so let's work together from today on. Yes, Absolutely. The new employees responded enthusiastically, showing great energy. Among them, one person stood out to me. I gave Molly one last word and left. To get ready for my role as department leader, I got to work early. By 8 o'clock on, the new employees began to show up. Even although we had already met at the orientation, I was still a little anxious. Happy morning. The future of our business depends on you, therefore let's collaborate starting today. Yes, absolutely. The new hires gave enthusiastic, high-energy responses. One of them caught my attention. With me here, I'll make this company number one. I'm ready to give my all and contribute, so let's get to it. The confident new hire's name was Derek. He is a man in his 20s, raised as the only son in a prestigious family of high achievers. He performed exceptionally well in the company entrance exam, so there are high expectations for him. But there is also some concern. Confidence in oneself is generally a good thing, but he tends to be somewhat arrogant compared to others. He often looks down on others and sometimes imposes his opinions on them in group work. During the interview process, his tendency for dominance had been quite evident. He had been hired nonetheless based on his strong potential, according to the interview panel. But I worried he might clash with others, something that didn't take long to happen. When assigned to organize some data, Derek promptly remarked, "This is such an outdated method. I'll come up with an efficient way to do this that'll help us get through the work faster." Naturally, his comment irritated the experienced employee guiding him. I stepped in to smooth things over, but the prospect of this happening repeatedly left me with a heavy feeling. I resolved to keep a close watch on him to ensure he didn't stray down the wrong path. About 30 new employees joined the company this year. With our recent growth, our workforce had nearly doubled. 5 of the new hires were assigned to my department, and they all had somewhat strong personalities. They were bright and outspoken, but Derek tended to be overly confident and impulsive, while the other 4 had a tendency to stubbornly cling to their own ideas. Once they decided something was right, they'd stick with it, so I had to be careful when teaching them the ropes. After all, if they picked up the wrong habits, it would be tough to correct them later. Some employees are simply more challenging to train. Though I've only been in this role for a year, I can't help but respect the other department heads who deal with this every day. This method is actually better in this case. It may seem cumbersome at first, but it's reliable. Really, to me, it feels like a waste of time. I think my way would be more efficient. I feel like Derek, and I have this kind of conversation constantly. Derek, with his sharp mind, always comes up with methods that cater to highly skilled workers, but not everyone operates that way. The standard methods exist for a reason. However, no matter how much I explained, Derek seemed unwilling to listen, and his gaze grew colder with each passing day. The constant strain from this situation wore on me mentally. Even if I wasn't physically exhausted, it became apparent enough that even Molly noticed my fatigue. "It seems like you've had a rough day." Molly greeted me at the door, offering a sympathetic smile as she noticed the exhaustion on my face. Before we got married, Molly had worked as the daughter of a company president, but now she took care of everything at home as a full-time homemaker. After enjoying the meal she had prepared, I shared with her the events that had taken place during the day. Molly, who had been listening quietly, suddenly remarked, "Come to think of it," as she recalled something from the past. "When I was working, there was a manager who stalked me, and he had the same last name. He had a son named Derek, if I remember correctly." "Really?" I was surprised to hear her mention someone with the same name as Derek, the new hire in my department. Looking uneasy, Molly rubbed her arm and continued, "He was relentless. I even lied about having someone I liked, but he kept asking me out. Some might say he was determined, but in reality, he was just stubborn. I wonder if Derek's the same way. It's hard to say if they're the same person, but Derek sure is stubborn. He rarely budges on his opinions, and it's exhausting dealing with him every day. Not knowing how to handle Derek's challenging personality, I felt overwhelmed. Perhaps noticing my frustration, Molly gently changed the subject. "By the way, how's the restaurant you're helping out at on your days off?" She was referring to the place I'd been assisting temporarily. It seems things are finally getting back on track. They should be hiring new staff within a few days. That's a relief. I had been helping out at a friend's restaurant on my days off. Several of their employees had come down with a bad flu, leaving them severely understaffed. Though busy with my own job, I stepped in because my friend was in a real bind. Kindness always finds its way back to you. One day, someone will surely help your company in return. Molly gave me a warm smile as she cleared the dishes. Her words about kindness reminded me of Foster Foods, the company that had once helped my father's business. A bit of empathy can go a long way in saving someone during difficult times. Thinking about this, I felt the stress from my day gradually start to lift. Incidentally, a few days later, I learned from Derek that his father worked at Foster Foods. Apparently, his father was in the same department Molly had mentioned, confirming that her story about the stalker was indeed true. Derek seemed unaware of this part of his father's past, though. After talking to Molly, I decided to keep a closer eye on Derek's behavior. He often opposed my methods, but he seemed to get along with the other employees. However, he frequently criticized me to the new hires. "Kirk's methods are such a hassle. Can you believe we're stuck with him as our manager? My way would obviously work better than these outdated techniques." "Yeah, you're totally right, Derek. I can't believe Kirk won't acknowledge Derek's methods. He's just narrow-minded." Derek had been rallying the new employees, pointing out what he considered to be my flaws. He even complained to my father, the CEO. "The head of our department is awful. You've got to hear this. You seem to have a lot to say about my son lately." More complaints, I take it. Yes, he never listens to my ideas. Because of that, I ended up causing trouble for my father. When he called out of concern, I was filled with a deep sense of guilt. Derek's problematic behavior would likely need to be addressed as soon as possible. At the time, I was prepared to let things go if Derek was willing to apologize. Everyone makes mistakes, and I didn't want to be the kind of manager who dismisses someone without giving them a chance to improve. But then, a few months after the new hires joined, an incident occurred. It was during lunch break. Unexpectedly, Molly visited the office, braving the summer heat. She had come to check on me, knowing I'd been extremely busy lately. "Here, I brought you some ice cream. I remember you like mint chocolate chip, right? I got 10, so please share them with the team." "Thank you, this really helps. But are you sure you're okay?" "I had something to eat at the cafe, so I'm fine. Still, it must have been tiring. You should cool off here in the office a bit before heading back. The distance from home to the office isn't exactly close, and without a car, Molly likely took public transportation." Looking closer, I noticed she was sweating. I guided her to an empty conference room, intending to put the ice cream in the freezer. Just as I was about to leave, Molly's phone rang. "Oh, it's from your family. I wonder why they'd call my phone." Puzzled, Molly answered the call. Not wanting to interrupt, I quietly stepped out of the room. About 30 new employees came shuffling in, and leading the group at the front was Derek. Out of nowhere, he hurled an accusation at me. "Kirk, we can't work here any longer." The shock of his words left me speechless. I hadn't even had time to pick up the box of ice cream I dropped as Derek continued his tirade. It seems he'd seen me helping out at the restaurant and completely misinterpreted the situation. "The company's financial state isn't good, is it? I saw you working another job recently. Things must be so bad that you're forced to take on extra work." "No, there's a reason." I hurried to clear up his misunderstanding, but Derek quickly talked over me, as if determined to silence me. His actions made it clear that he wasn't interested in any explanation. He just wanted to drag me down. Looking at me with a smug expression, he raised his voice even more. On top of that, I heard you're in a loveless marriage and have been forcing other companies into deals to keep us afloat. My father told me everything. If that's what it takes to keep this company running, then there's no future here. Derek's father is a manager at Foster Foods, so it's possible he'd have access to certain details about our company. I don't know the exact power dynamic within that company, but given his past of stalking Molly, he might have done some digging himself. It wasn't surprising that Derek's father seemed well informed about things on our side. The other new hires nodded along in agreement, following Derek's lead as he condemned me. At that moment, another issue surfaced. Molly emerged from the conference room, her face pale. She walked up to me and whispered, "Your father collapsed. He was taken to the hospital, but he didn't make it." What? Your mother thought you wouldn't be able to stay calm if she told you herself, so she called me instead. The sudden news hit me hard, and I sank to my knees as my vision went dark. The only thing keeping me grounded was the feeling of Molly's hand gently comforting me. Your father's last words were that he wanted you to take over the company. According to your mother, he'd been suffering from overwork for a while. He collapsed while handling work outside the office. Even Derek and his followers went silent in the face of this news, but Derek wasn't done yet. He turned to the other employees and addressed them. "I feel for him, but we need to think about our own futures. If someone like him becomes CEO, then this company has no future. Don't you all agree?" "Yeah, Derek's right. We can't make a living if we stay here." Encouraging the uncertain employees, Derek turned back to me, his voice resolute as he threw something down in my direction. "We're leaving and taking half the staff with us." A flurry of envelopes scattered in front of me. Each was marked resignation letter. Half, that meant Derek had thrown down 30 resignation letters. Losing almost half of the company's workforce would be a severe blow. "It seems like karma has finally caught up with you for deceiving us. You ignored my advice, and your father was no better. Maybe his passing was simply the punishment he deserved. We're leaving this company, and there's nothing you can do about it." I tried to face Derek seriously, but clearly none of it had reached him. No longer caring to respond sincerely, I gave a dismissive answer and turned my back on them. "Go right ahead." Ha! Did Derek actually expect me to try to stop him? His baffled expression was almost comical. "Don't pretend you're not worried. I know you're panicking on the inside." Looking skeptical, Derek said this before leading the 30 employees out of the building. It appeared he hadn't been bluffing. When I checked the resignation letters he'd thrown down, I saw that each one was properly signed. But they'd come to regret this decision soon enough. No, I'd make sure of it. I'd work hard as CEO, prove myself, and show everyone, including those who left, what they missed out on. With renewed determination, I reached for the box of ice cream that had been left behind. The time spent had caused it to melt, and sticky liquid was already seeping through the cracks in the box. Several months later, since Derek and the others had left, I'd been working alongside new employees. There were moments when I'd worried about the company's future, but things were going well. Our work was steady, and our client list was growing. Molly constantly reminded me not to overwork myself like my father had, so I reached out to various people for help. I even asked former employees to return, brought in help from a friend who owned a restaurant, and relied on every connection I had. Thanks to those efforts, the company entrusted to me by my father continued to thrive, with a major business deal underway. The company's future was looking secure. One day, the former new hires returned to the office, looking visibly uncomfortable. They bowed their heads in apology one after another. "We're sorry. Is there any chance we could take back our resignations? The company we were supposed to join suddenly told us they didn't know who we were." It was Foster Foods. Most of those who resigned planned to join Foster Foods. This was something they casually mentioned when they were leaving the company, but since Foster Foods had a close relationship with me, they hadn't accepted those who'd chosen to abandon my company. Direct should have been aware of this, but he likely kept it to himself, prioritizing his desire to harm my reputation over being honest with the others. Those who left, thinking Foster Foods was waiting for them, had been played by Derek's manipulations. We're truly sorry. Could you possibly take us back, please? Among those apologizing, one person stood out, looking particularly uneasy. It was Derek, but unlike the others, his expression wasn't one of apology. He was glaring at me with unmistakable resentment. Derek was clearly hostile. Your performance in our interview was poor, Derek, but I understood that as new graduates you'd have your weaknesses, and I hired you despite them. Other companies simply weren't as forgiving. No, that can't be. Derek's face twisted in disbelief, and he muttered, "This has to be a lie," before storming toward me. Hey, you must have done something. This is all your fault, isn't it? I quietly stepped aside to avoid him and turned my attention to the others who continued to apologize. Are you all serious about making a fresh start here? Yes, we've come back to make up for our mistakes. After seeing how other companies operate, we realized this was the best place for us. People make mistakes. I didn't hold it against them for getting the wrong idea. That was human nature. But spreading unverified information is a fact. That was unacceptable. Do you understand what went wrong? Yes. We now know you were only helping out a friend's restaurant. We've looked into everything Derek told us since then. We can't believe how foolish we were at the time. If they truly intended to reflect and start over, I wasn't about to deny them a second chance. I addressed the apologetic new hires. I'll conduct another interview, so come to the office at the time I'll be providing shortly. Relief washed over their faces as they thanked me, visibly grateful. But as for Derek, I had nothing to offer him. It wasn't just that he left the company. I couldn't forgive the way he insulted my father. Finally, I turned my gaze toward him. Derek, during your time here, you often spoke disparagingly of me as your manager, and your insults toward my father cannot be overlooked. I won't tolerate anyone who disturbs the workplace atmosphere and manipulates their peers. Derek shot me a fierce glare, then turned his back. I'd never work under you again. Anyway, but mark my words, I'll get my revenge. With that, he walked out. I didn't know what he might be plotting, but for the sake of my company and employees, I resolved to stay vigilant. Despite the lingering worry over Derek, I threw myself into work. We had several big projects underway, including a major business deal and a new product launch. By the time I got home, it was usually around midnight. But even at that hour, Molly would be up, waiting to greet me. I can't thank her enough for reheating dinner and preparing a warm bath for me. I decided to ask her something that had been on my mind for a while. Molly, I know our marriage was initially out of convenience for both of us, but how do you feel about it now? Why do you ask all of a sudden? Molly was chuckling softly, but she must have realized that I was serious. She responded with a serious expression on her face. I do love you, you know. Even if the initial reason was more practical, like dealing with my stalker. I feel the same way. Hearing her honest answer, I felt a wave of relief. Looking at her warm smile, I felt my heart ease. I realized I'd felt this way soon after our marriage. If I'd shared my feelings back then, I wouldn't have had to carry around this uncertainty. Now that we know we're on the same page, how about we take a trip somewhere together? Sure. Where should we go? Why don't you choose? I'm not very good at this sort of thing. Having something to look forward to would motivate me even more with work. There's a new hot springs resort that just opened last month. I've been wanting to go. A hot spring sounds great. I'll make sure to clear my schedule. Molly beamed with excitement. And there's a popular restaurant nearby that's tough to book. Let's try it while we're there. We ended up talking about our trip plans until dawn. 3 years passed since that day. Derek never returned to my company, but his name started circulating within the industry. It seems that Derek has gone ahead and started a new company. His company is rapidly growing and making a strong impact in our industry. Then one day, he suddenly approached my company with a business proposal. He wanted to sell us essential seasoning ingredients for processed foods at exorbitant prices. Naturally, the sales team, knowing the history, turned him down. But Derek was relentless. He continued contacting the sales team under various pretenses, disrupting their work. Apparently, he often argued with our salespeople, saying, "Why won't you agree to a deal? I'm going out of my way to reach out here. Sure, it might be a bit pricey, but this is from a famous company." I heard he even came close to physically intimidating one of our employees. At first, I thought he was just trying to waste our time and hinder our operations, but it seemed I'd misjudged his intentions. When I met with him at his office, he confidently explained his reasoning. My company is about to become #1 in this industry. If you think about it, the smart move is to partner with me now. Isn't that obvious? The food industry is buzzing about my company. Once I'm on top, it'll prove I was right all along. It seemed clear that he wasn't just trying to pull us down. He genuinely wanted to assert his superiority over my company. And above all, he still couldn't bring himself to acknowledge his own mistakes. It would have been ideal to secure a deal with such a promising company, but I turned it down. The reason was that the employees at his company looked completely lifeless. Watching them walk down the hallways with pale faces and blank expressions, I realized this company had no future. As it turned out, my intuition was right. Derek's rapidly growing company hit a major decline. At one point, one by one, employees started quitting, and the business couldn't stay afloat. Apparently, Derek's approach was extremely forceful, and he was making his employees work to the breaking point. Former employees now working elsewhere mentioned that working there felt like being in a black company, a term for toxic workplaces. Nobody could keep up with the endless hours Derek demanded, and eventually, they all left. Now, his company is on the brink of bankruptcy. However, it seems Derek couldn't understand why this was happening. He even went to the homes of those who left, trying to persuade them to come back. Despite his efforts, not a single person returned. Then one day, I happened to run into Derek, wandering aimlessly through town, so I decided to have a talk with him. "Derek, can we talk for a bit?" "What? Did you just come here to mock me?" "Not at all. Let's sit in that nearby park and talk." We walked over to a park bench and sat down. Since we weren't on friendly terms for idle chit-chat, I got straight to the point. "You don't understand the value of people because you only see them as pieces on a board for your own use," I told him, what I'd felt for a long time. Derek looked at me, surprised. "What did you just say?" "Also, you're too convinced that your way is the only right one. There's wisdom to be learned from others' methods. So you're saying I was foolish." He probably hadn't realized his own flaws until now. I could see the irritation as he ran his hands through his hair. "So you're saying I should just lower myself to accommodate foolish people. That's not it. It means you should respect other people's ways and not force your own approach on everyone. Not everyone has the same abilities. So basically, you're saying my failure is my own fault." With a self-deprecating tone, Derek muttered that he should have paused to reflect before things got to this point. But because he couldn't recognize his own shortcomings, this was the result. Looking downcast, Derek murmured quietly, "Why did you even bother talking to me?" "Because you're still young. You can start over. It would be a waste to let this be the end." After a brief moment of thought, Derek wiped his eyes and stood up. "I shouldn't be sitting here. I need to get back and turn things around." Seeing a hint of life back in his expression, I simply nodded. "I'm glad to hear that." I hoped my words had given him a little bit of encouragement. Afterward, Derek seemed to struggle quite a bit, but he changed his attitude, hired new employees, and managed to avoid bankruptcy. He even visited my company with a box of sweets to apologize. Back then, I was wrong to deceive people and quit for my own gain. I'm truly sorry. At first, the former employees who joined my company were angry, but most of them have now forgiven him. I think Derek will be fine now. He should be able to work while genuinely caring for his employees. I hope he builds a good company from here on. As for me, with things at my company calming down, I decided to go on a date with Molly. We lived without really speaking honestly with each other, so there's a lot I want to discuss. The day before our date, as I finished work early to head home, the employees called out to me. Good luck on your date with your wife tomorrow. Thank you for all your hard work. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you all for your help too. Make sure you all take breaks when you need them. It's easy to grow arrogant when you're in a position of power, but I resolve to keep myself grounded and always value my employees. With that thought in mind, I set off, feeling excited for my date with Molly. David is my name. I was once in charge of the Kin crime family, which is reputed to be the biggest organization in the Kanto area. However, that was only recently. Now that my son has taken over as chairman, I'm relaxing and considering taking advantage of some of the experiences I've never had before. Visiting this primitive hot spring is one among those activities. Since I was the leader of the party, I have tended to stay at upscale inns up until now. However, as I've become older, I've learned to value the simplicity and serenity of a rural inn as a way to relax and release pent-up tension. Such a location is ideal. A rock-enclosed outdoor bath overlooking nothing but mountains. There are hardly any other visitors in this quiet inn, and the hallway creaks with every step I take. There's a vintage ping-pong table and even a vintage jukebox. I grab a bottle of iced latte from an almost empty refrigerator after I've finished my bath in the hot spring. After muttering to myself, "Nothing beats this after a hot bath," I settle into a massage chair that activates when I insert a coin. I return to my room after taking pleasure in the bath. I stop by the gift shop on the way, but it doesn't have anything interesting to offer. Well, this is pretty amazing, I believe. I don't notice anything in this place. At that moment, I hear the innkeeper's voice. "Please, enough already, I beg you." "Miss Innkeeper, hurry up. You are still operating a business here even if you claim that. All we're doing is ensuring you can operate it securely. That agreement is advantageous to both parties, isn't it? But I really am unable to pay at this time." "What are you saying? This is a pleasant spot for you. You have no excuse not to pay." However, very few visitors visit these days. Then do more advertising. Are you slacking off, or are you even advertising this place? I wish I could, but I don't have the funds to do that. Hey now, advertising doesn't cost money anymore. Make use of social media. Spread the word on your own. Many others will see it if you do it. No cash is needed. If you're not even making an effort, you can't complain about guests not turning up. Believe me, I'm trying, but this inn is crumbling in some areas. Then make it right. Isn't it merely an excuse to leave things broken and say you can't? Repairs also cost money. Look, you want visitors, don't you? Then concentrate on repairing the inn first. Why not advertise it as a quaint old establishment? Then, no one would mind the shabby appearance. It would be the reason they came here. Yeah, I guess, but it's not exactly making money now. Yes, I understand that. I truly am unable to make any further payments, as I have stated. Hey now, I don't want to hear that. There is nothing more to it than our kind request that you pay the protection charge. Therefore, why attempt to shut it down with a straightforward, "I can't"? But there isn't any money, I assure you, and it's simply not doable without guests, as I mentioned. Look, come on now. An elderly man is even looking through trinkets over there. I take it that he is a guest. Serving your current clientele is what you must do. Over time, that will attract more people. Is that old man here by himself, even if you say that? No, he isn't. What is the size of his group? It's a 3-person party. You see, don't you have 3 guests? That will cover the protection price for this month. Don't act as though there aren't any visitors when in fact there are. Yes, but there is hardly any profit even with 3 guests. The protection charge is just too much for me to handle on top of everything else. Possible to pay, regardless of what you claim. None of that matters to me, not the only one managing this inn. Am responsible for paying the chef, the doorman, and the maids. Not possible to pay, regardless of what you claim. That matters to me. It is your problem, not ours, to solve. Enough already. Since the period of the previous owner, monthly payments have been required. However, it was the previous owner's agreement, not mine, and that was back when we had more visitors. I never consented to it. You think you don't have to follow the previous owner's agreements, even out here in the sticks. You've managed to stay in business because the Kingston crime family has been watching over you. We've been protecting this place all these years. Now you're just going to ignore that. Please, I'm begging you, just leave me be. It's hard enough to keep this inn running as it is. Listen here, keep this up, and you're going to regret it. You keep saying you can't pay. You can't pay. Maybe we should just smash up this place so you'll never be able to open again. What? We wouldn't mind. It's an old rundown inn anyway. We can destroy it any time. No, in that case, there wouldn't be any inns left, would there? So you wouldn't have to pay protection fees anymore, right? Yeah, that's true. If that happens, you wouldn't have to pay anymore. That might actually work out better for you, don't you think? You got it. We're serious here. I'll be back tomorrow, so have it ready by then. The men left the inn, but their words were clearly meant to intimidate. Once they were gone, the innkeeper sank to the ground, looking as if she might collapse at any moment. Ma'am, I spoke gently to the innkeeper, who seemed lost in despair. She looked at me with vacant eyes, but as soon as she realized I was a guest, she managed to smile. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. What's going on? Those men look like mob. Ah, yes. Actually, they are. I heard something about a protection fee. Yes, they're demanding a monthly protection fee. But as you can see, we barely have any guests. And with the protection fee to pay every month, it's impossible to make ends meet. Yet, they've come again this month. Sounds like they're really pushing you. Yes, which is why I'm planning to close the inn at the end of this month. Really? Is that so? Yes, you're our final guest. I thought we might close without anyone else visiting, but I'm grateful to have at least one guest for the inn's final days. I see. Yes, I've done everything I could, but it's reached its limit. The place is falling apart. I've polished every day, but there's only so much you can do without real repairs. Are you truly okay with closing the inn? Well, it's a little embarrassing to tell you, but my grandmother started this inn. She raised my mother alone with its income. My mother often said it was only because of this inn that she could raise me. Later, she married, but my father didn't like working, so they divorced. And then, once again, the inn supported my family. It's been passed down to me, the 3rd generation. I've tried to keep it going, but with the protection fees rising, I simply can't keep up. So even though I don't want to close, I have no choice. The innkeeper looked around the inn, her gaze lingering. I see. So this inn has been the lifeline for 3 generations. Yes, so ideally I wouldn't want to close it, but I suppose I have to. I understand. I looked at the old man thoughtfully, then spoke up again. Mom, yes, if the protection fee were gone, would you continue running this inn? Yes, without the protection fee, we could manage, even on a smaller scale. We still have some loyal guests. I see. Which group are those men with? Uh, the Kingston crime family. Got it. I'll take care of this for you. What? But look, I'm the chairman of the Kane crime family, the largest group in the Kanto region. There's nothing I can't handle. Oh, so you're the mob. Sorry if I startled you. The two men with me are senior members of my group. One of my top men insisted on sending them along. Since I was visiting a hot spring, I thought I wouldn't need them, but it seems like they'll come in handy after all. So don't worry about it. I'll make sure your inn is safe. But I don't want to be a burden. It's no trouble. I have some free time on my hands. But even if you help, I can't offer any kind of reward. We're really struggling. You don't need to worry about that. Just an old man's whim. Besides, this inn carries the memories of the previous owners. I'd hate to see it shut down. And if nothing else, it'll be a nice way to pass the time. Oh, things can't be expressed in words. Thank you so much. No need to thank me. I haven't even done anything yet. With that, I stepped away from the innkeeper and returned to my room. As I entered, my two senior members, noticing my return, greeted me with a bow, seated respectfully on the floor. Welcome back, Mr. Kane. Hey, did you two get to try the hot springs yet? No, not yet. I see. Well, before that, it looks like we have a little something interesting to take care of. Interesting. Yeah, a little helping hand. When I said that, the two of them exchanged puzzled looks. I explained what I had just witnessed to them. As expected from a senior member of the Kane group, he frowned upon hearing my words. That's unforgivable. Should we go pay them a visit? Charging in with just the three of us might not be wise. We don't know how many they have. We'll end up getting beaten ourselves if we're not careful. So, call Owen and have him gather some men. Once they're here, we'll go and show them what's what. Understood. Eric, one of my senior members, immediately contacted Owen and relayed my orders. Owen agreed and promised to send reinforcements our way. The following day, I got a message from Owen saying that the members had gathered and were on their way over here. Thinking it was just a matter of waiting, I settled into a sofa in the first-floor lounge. But soon enough, the same men from yesterday barged in again. Hey, we're here to collect the protection money. The two mob men strutted in, their voices loud and overbearing. Mr. Kane, looks like it's them. Yeah, looks like they showed up a bit early. What should we do? Want to take them down now? Let's try talking first. If we get rough here, the staff might be scared. Good point. As they were talking, the innkeeper came over from the back. She looked as if she was completely troubled. The other staff had paused their work, watching anxiously. Well, lady, got the money ready? I hope. Well, the thing is... What do you mean, the thing is? Don't tell me you can't pay. Yes, as things stand, there's just no way to come up with that amount. If you can't pay, then use that body of yours to earn the money. One night's work would cover it, wouldn't it? Stop making excuses. With that, he knocked over a vase on the front desk. The beautifully arranged flowers tumbled to the floor, and he crushed them under his foot. Hey, take it easy. There's no need for rough stuff. What was that, sir? Didn't you know? Collecting protection money is illegal these days, even in a quiet hot spring town like this. You can't escape the law. Who the hell are you? Some cop or something? Nah, I'm not with the police. Pah, like the mob cares about the law. Are you stupid? These days, you'd better know the law if you want to avoid getting busted. Just because you're a mobster doesn't mean you're above justice. Shut up. Don't go acting all high and mighty with us. You're just some guest here to soak in the hot springs. If you don't want to get hurt, sit down and stay quiet. Can't do that. I made a promise to this innkeeper yesterday. I don't know what kind of promise you made, but you be wise to stay out of our business. Maybe it's you who should keep quiet and avoid any trouble. What was that, old man? Do you know who you're talking to? Doesn't matter who you are. Just a couple of low-level thugs, I guess. Who are you calling low-level thugs? We're members of the Kingston crime family. We've got a bit of a reputation around here. If you mock us, you'll regret it. Seems to me you'll be the ones regretting it. If you need funds for your group, try making an honest living somewhere else. What we do and where we do it is none of your business. Lady, if you're going to ask for help, maybe you should have chosen someone better than this old guy. Hate to disappoint, but while I may be old, I've got 2 young men here with me. Think you two can take them on? 2 on 2. We're not worried. You're truly a reckless bunch, Mr. Kane. Should we take care of these guys? I don't care who he is. If he thinks he can take us down, he's got another thing coming. We've never lost a fight. Well, I'd rather not cause any trouble inside the inn if I can avoid it. I glanced briefly at the innkeeper. Her face was pale. If we started a brawl here, something in this inn she cared about would probably get destroyed, and I didn't want to see her hurt by that. Take it outside. What's wrong with here? If we fight here, something in the inn will get broken. Don't you get that? Who cares if this rundown inn stuff gets smashed? It'll be shut down soon anyway. And why is that? That's up to the innkeeper, but if she can't pay the protection fee, this place is done for. I see. You people really are rotten to the core. But I have no intention of letting this inn close. Like I care. Eric, take these fools outside and deal with them. Understood. My senior members stepped forward, grabbed the 2 thugs by their arms, and hauled them out the door. Hey, what the hell are you doing? You just heard the chairman, didn't you? He told us to take you out. Prepare yourselves. You went and crossed Mr. Kane, chairman of the Kane crime family. You'll see what that means soon enough. The Kane crime family? That's right. That man over there is Mr. Kane himself. You're lucky he isn't taking you on himself. He might have ended your lives if he did, but since it's just us, we'll spare you that much. Don't give me that crap. I don't care if you're the Kane crime family. We're the Kingston crime family, and here on our turf, things run our way, no matter who you are. Save it. In a fight, there's no turf. You're just flies buzzing around. All right, enough talk. Take them down quickly. We don't want a scene scaring away any guests. Yes, Mr. Kane. All right then. Nothing personal. With that, my senior members charged at the 2 men. The thugs tried to run, startled by the speed of their attack, but there was no escape as they seized the men. Fists flew, landing squarely on their faces. The men were pinned to the ground before they had a chance to fight back, taking a final blow. Idiots thinking they could stand up to us with that kind of strength. They're like helpless babies. Just then, Eric's phone rang. Mr. Kane, it's from our underboss. He says the reinforcements have arrived and are waiting outside the Kingston crime family office. Good. They got here faster than I expected. All right, take these 2 along as a little gift for the Kingston crime family. Yes, sir. Ma'am, do you have anything we can use to tie these guys up? They might start thrashing around otherwise. Oh yes, I'll get something right away. The innkeeper rushed inside and returned with some rope. This is all I could find. That'll do just fine. It's just trash we're tying up after all. I handed the rope to my senior members, who bound the men and tossed them into the inn's van. Don't worry, I'll settle things. Just wait for the good news. Thank you so much. With that, we started the van and headed for the Kingston crime family headquarters. Their office wasn't anything impressive, just a rundown building. From the steady traffic of men going in and out, it looked like they had a decent number of members. Hey, how many members does the Kingston crime family have? We're a big group around here. They've got less than 50. Is that so? Less than 50, and that's a big group. Don't make me laugh. Hey, Don't mock us. 50 is plenty. The Kane crime family has 500. 50 doesn't even begin to compare. Shet. Look at all these cars parked around here. What's going on? Indeed, several cars and vans surrounded the building. Well, this should be enough, I said, stepping out of the car. The moment I appeared, my men spilled out from their cars, lining up in formation. Every one of them stood at attention, bowing their heads toward me. Good work, everyone. What is this? These are my men. Not even all of them, but I'm no fool. I didn't plan on taking on the Kingston crime family with just 3 guys. With this many of you, with a force like this, even if they have 50 members, the Kingston crime family should be manageable. All right, let's go pay Kingston's boss a visit. Leading the way, I headed to the 3rd floor office of the Kingston crime family. Behind me were 2 of their men, 2 senior members, and our senior member who had just arrived with his crew. We were more than prepared if things got ugly. I rang the doorbell, waiting for someone inside to open it. Soon, a junior member opened the door. I strode in without removing my shoes, stopping in the center of the room before tossing the 2 tied-up thugs onto the floor. What is this? A little gift. A gift? Who the hell are you? I'm David, chairman of the Kane crime family. Chairman of the Kane crime family? Why is the head of the Kane crime family? Mr. Kingston, the boss himself, couldn't hide his surprise at the sudden appearance of the Kane group. But we're Kane, the largest group in the region. Perhaps realizing it would be dangerous not to handle things calmly, he asked me to take a seat on the sofa. But around us, Kingston's men were tense, ready to pounce at any moment. I don't mind sitting, but could you calm down your soldiers? It's hard to have a civil conversation with this kind of atmosphere. Yes, of course. Hey, you lot, sit down. And you, bring some tea for the chairman. Upon hearing his words, the members, still exuding a tense and intimidating atmosphere, reluctantly took their seats. Is this better? I nodded, taking a sip from the cheap tea they brought. So, can you tell me what's going on here? I fixed my gaze on Kingston, then glanced over at the 2 bound men, a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. So it seems your men have been demanding outrageous protection fees, haven't they? What you see, I'm currently staying at a lovely inn run by a certain innkeeper. I stepped down, as head of my group, and decided to take it easy in the hot springs. It's a good inn, you know? Ever been there? No, not really. I don't usually visit local hot springs. Yeah, it's like that when places are close by, isn't it? But you should give it a try sometime. It's quite comfortable. Maybe. Yeah, but of course, if you go, you'd better make sure you don't look like a mob. Yes, naturally. It seems you understand, don't you? How much trouble it causes when mobs show up at a regular person's business, you know. Yes, of course. If they know we're mob, customers stay away. Exactly. So if that's the case, why are your men going in and out of that inn looking like thugs? Oh. Well, is it because you're in the middle of making money? Yeah. Oh, I see. But you know, these days, demanding protection fees isn't exactly legal. That's true. Right? You know what I mean. Then if the police catch wind of this, they'll start cracking down, and your men will end up in jail. So why are these guys demanding such ridiculous fees and resorting to threats on top of that? Well, we're having financial troubles ourselves. In that case, you should find other ways to raise money. You don't have to go hounding a struggling inn for cash. But protection fees have been a tradition for ages. Tradition? Do you think that poor inn, on the brink of closing down, can survive with fees like that? In the old days, men believed in keeping the weak alive, but not thriving. But you're out here squeezing the life out of them, and your men's methods are downright abusive. Even if you say that, Mr. Kane, sure, your group is big, but I'd appreciate it if you stayed out of our business. Oh, is that so? We're not under your organization, nor are we allied. This is our way of doing things. I'd rather you didn't interfere. So, what you're saying is that I'll have to make you understand by force. What you're telling me is you won't understand unless I convince you. Is that it? No, look, I didn't come here to start a fight. I came here to talk. If you keep doing things like this, there won't be any honest folks left to run these inns. Even in a hot springs area, if no one's willing to operate an inn, you won't be getting anything out of it either, will you? Well, that's true. True. Then it'd be better to resolve this peacefully, wouldn't it? I understand your point, but those protection fees are an essential part of our group's income. I can't just give that up. You're really making this difficult. I've said I don't want to fight, but you're not making it easy to avoid. Look, every place has its own way of doing things, just like you have your own way over there. No sooner had he said that than Kingston stood up, looking ready to charge at me. At that moment, the other members also began throwing punches all at once. But just then, the two tied-up men on the floor struggled to warn him. No, boss. There are tons of the Kane crime family men outside. If we start something, we'll be crushed. Boss, please stop. Hearing that voice, Kingston moved closer to the window and looked outside. What caught his eye was a fleet of cars and members of the Kane group. No way. Why are so many of the Kane crime family here? Don't underestimate the Kane crime family. With a single word from me, I can gather this many men. Everyone stop. Stop right now if you don't want this group to be destroyed. Stand down. Kingston's men froze, lowering their fists at his command. I don't think we really need a group like yours. It might be better to just wipe it out. No. Please, if this group is destroyed, it's not just me. All my men will be left on the streets. Please don't take down my group. The fierce resolve he had shown earlier had completely vanished, and Mr. Kingston sank to the floor in desperation. Seeing their leader bowing in defeat, all the Kingston crime family members followed suit, dropping to their knees in apology. Well, if the boss bows, the men follow. Huh, looks like your guys are loyal to you, Mr. Kingston. Yes, they're good men. Please, anything but destroying the group. You think I can just let this go because you ask nicely? Maybe not, but from now on, we won't collect any more protection fees. We'll figure out other ways. Just please spare the group. Mr. Kingston bit his lip, looking anguished, and lowered his head further in apology. All right. If you're promising to put an end to this for good, then I'll hold off on destroying your group. But that doesn't mean we're done here. You've extorted quite a bit from that overtime, haven't you? We don't even know how much we've collected over the years. Is that so? I suppose it's hard to keep track of, isn't it? Yes, exactly. So, if we agree not to collect any more from them, fine. We'll overlook what you've taken so far, but you'll still owe a penalty fee. A penalty fee. That's right. About $1 million should cover it. $1 million. But we don't have that kind of money. There isn't enough in our reserves. Then take out a loan. Conveniently, I've got our loan specialist here. Perfect timing, wouldn't you say, Al? Loan? Yes, we'll loan you $1 million, and you can pay it back that way. Understood. I'll have those two pay it back. What? Boss, we can't handle a $1 million debt. Shut up. You're the ones who caused this mess. You'll take out the loan and pay it off. Good. Get Scene over here and have him draw up the paperwork. Upon giving the order, Eric took out his phone and contacted Sean. When Sean, who had been waiting outside, came running over, I instructed them to each lend $500,000. Now, you two will each get $500,000, but you'll be working it off on a crab fishing boat. Nothing to it. Just a bit cold out there. You'll get used to it soon enough. Just make sure you don't fall overboard, all right? Nobody's coming to save you if you do. Boss, stop. Stop crying. This is for the sake of the group, so go out there and work hard. Once the two were taken away, I gathered my senior members, and we headed back to the inn. Oh, I'll come back, and thank you so much. Sorry if we caused you any worry. Taking the $500,000 from Sean, I handed it to the innkeeper. This here is the penalty fee I wrung out of Mr. Kingston. Use it to rebuild this inn. It might not cover everything you've paid over the years, but it's a start, and you won't have to worry about the Kingston crime family coming back. If, by some slim chance, they ever do, you call me right away. Understand? I've decided to keep an eye on this place myself. As long as I'm around, I won't let anything like this happen to you again. Oh, thank you. I don't even know how to express my gratitude. No need for thanks, but in return, let my men enjoy the hot springs. They came all the way from Kanto after all, and I'd like them to try the food here too. But so many of them. Don't worry. I'll cover all the costs. Don't go giving us discounts either. I'm the chairman of the Kane crime family. I can handle it. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Even for your men. They're like family to me. All right, listen up, you lot. No acting tough or causing trouble. Don't do anything to bother the innkeeper. We're staying just one night, and then tomorrow we're out of here. The members were overjoyed, thinking they'd get to soak in the hot springs. The staff, too, hurriedly began preparing the room, saying, "We'll get everything ready right away." A couple of months later, I received an invitation from the inn. It was from the newly renovated establishment, with a note from the innkeeper filled with words of gratitude. This morning, your patent sold for a hefty sum. My manager phoned me out of the blue and ushered me into the corridor before saying something completely absurd. What do you mean by that? I apologize. Do you mean the patent I received from my former employer? The ridiculousness of it all perplexed me, but I chose to listen with a half-hearted attitude. It must have been a lie. That's the one, indeed. However, why did you join this organization? Why did you come here from your prior employer? Lisa, a female employee, rushed up at that moment. The CEO has called, said boss. He wants you to give him a call back right away. Really? Did he mention the subject? He made no mention of details. The CEO simply insisted that it was urgent. I had an instinct when I heard this. Something must have come to light, and it had become a serious issue. With a mumble, "You've lost everything now," and slipped closer. "Hey, what's going on here?" Boss, the CEO is waiting." Boss snapped his tongue in frustration, then Lisa flashed a short smile before glaring at me, and rushed away after saying that. Typical office worker at 41. Other child. I enjoyed playing outside with friends from elementary school until the beginning of middle school. I started to consider high school. I found that I was suddenly really interested in science and math. Although it was difficult at first, I persisted, worked hard in my studies, and eventually was accepted to the high school of my choosing. Sciences for college, studying diligently and without interruptions to pass the entrance examinations. Research in the lab alongside like-minded colleagues. But I found that quiet, purely cerebral pursuits were insufficient. In order to maximize my time, I also worked part-time whenever possible, working in cafes, the kitchen, and as a waitress at a beer pub. It was wonderful to be among energetic individuals. It brought back memories of my active early years. Even while I liked dealing with people, I also believed that since I had advanced this far in a science degree, I should apply the abilities I had acquired via study in my work. I therefore looked for work options appropriately and selected a sock manufacturing company from a number of offers. I worked in R&D and got a patent 7 years later. Although it wasn't enough to make me wealthy, it was a tiny achievement that made me feel accomplished. But it also brought with it a nagging feeling of ennui. I came to the realization that I would only grow more disinterested and deteriorate if I kept working at this job. I continued to work in the same position for 5 more years in spite of this realization. However, I made the decision to change occupations one day and accepted a position in sales, which is a totally different industry. It was confusing and full of obstacles at first, but now that I'm in my 7th year, even though it can still be difficult at times, I find it to be fascinating and think it was a wise career choice. I was promoted to assistant manager last year, who came with pride and additional responsibility. Tom, the head of the department, called me one day to inquire about something. Tom was a veteran who had worked for the corporation exclusively for 25 years. He was one of the sales managers when I started, but 4 years ago, he was elevated to the position of head of the sales division. However, it's unlikely that he gained it via actual skill. Did he subtly overthrow his competitors to gain that position? His patronizing demeanor and incredibly self-centered actions for a leader are evident. I thought he was talking to the contract when he inquired about the topic that was scheduled for next month, so I responded appropriately. Yes, we are scheduled to finalize the contract in the middle of next month. What? Not this month, but next month. That schedule has been the basis of our planning. Chris, you need to have brought that up sooner. Are you being lazy? I nearly shot back that I wasn't being lazy, but refrained. I kept blinking as I thought about what the boss had said. We'd have talked about this topic before. I had previously told him that next month would see the finalization of the deal. I remember saying that quite vividly. Is he acting to trick me, or is he simply forgetting? After about 15 minutes, our companions left the table, and it was just Catherine and me. I pondered on what to say next as I carefully admired her face. She looked even prettier than in her photos. Alex, there's something I wanted to ask first. Oh, what is it? Alex, have you ever been on an arranged date before? Before I was actually thinking of asking her the same thing. I told her it was my first time and asked if it was her first as well. She also said it was her first with someone as charming as me. I'm surprised you'd need to go on an arranged date. Wouldn't you have plenty of suitors? Oh, you're too kind, she said, her tone gentle. But Catherine gave me a stern look. She probably thought I was being insincere, and I got a little worried, but that assertive side of hers was quite attractive to me. Did I say something you didn't like? I wasn't trying to butter you up, honestly. I then shared with her about my long-term relationship ending due to a job in another state, how I came back to the headquarters, got this arranged date offer from my department head, and how her photo made me want to meet her. At first, I laughed at the idea of an arranged date, but it's just another way to meet people. Even those group dates I went to when I was younger felt like group arranged dates. As I continued to share, Catherine's expression softened. You broke up with your previous girlfriend 3 years ago, right? When? In September. Sometime in September, I guess, I answered. Curious, Catherine smirked. Actually, I broke up with my long-term boyfriend in September 3 years ago, too. I was at a loss for words at Catherine's unexpected confession. Did you get over your ex? Jess? Of course. And you? She asked. A long time ago, I said, smiling. I couldn't help but smile, too. And so our arranged date came to an end, and we agreed to meet again the following weekend. I was so eager to see Catherine again that I felt restless the entire week. Every night after work, I'd think about what to wear. Never one to care much about fashion, I was quite indecisive. As I was looking through my closet, I decided on a suit without a tie. Then a thought popped into my head. What about underwear? I quickly came back to my senses. I'm such an idiot. Worrying about that was way too premature for our first date. We met at 4 p.m. near an established department store close to the hotel where we had our arranged date. We planned to stroll around town for a bit and then find a decent restaurant for dinner. I could have booked a place in advance, but since I didn't know Catherine's preferences, I thought we'd decide on the go. Of course, I did some research and had shortlisted a few places that seemed good. I'd arrived in town over an hour earlier than our scheduled time and checked the location of the restaurant I had in mind. After doing that, I went to the place where I was supposed to meet her. But even after our 4:00 p.m. meeting time, she was nowhere in sight. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I thought she might have stood me up. I was about to give up and head home when, while crossing the street, I thought of calling her to express my frustration. Then, from the other side of the intersection, I spotted her walking towards me with her cell phone in one hand. She noticed me too and waved enthusiastically. I rushed toward her, and we both stopped right in the middle of the crossing. I was thinking of calling you and heading home because you were so late, I said. I was there too. I was waiting for you right on time over there, she replied, pointing to our meeting spot. Suddenly, she burst out laughing. The pedestrian crosswalk signal started flashing with a beeping sound, and we both ran back to the sidewalk. Alex, were you waiting over there? She asked. I looked back at the beer hall named Penguin that she pointed to and silently nodded. I was here. I was waiting here. What she pointed out ahead was the department store we had chosen as our rendezvous point. Right in front of its entrance stood the department store symbol, a penguin statue. In other words, we had agreed to meet by the penguin in front of the department store. However, I mistook it for a beer hall named Penguin across the street from the department store, while Catherine thought of it as the penguin symbol at the entrance of the store. That's a funny mix-up. Glad we didn't miss each other, she said. Yeah, seriously. Now that I think about it, I'm thirsty. How about we grab a drink at that beer hall to pay our respects to the penguin? Sounds good. Let's do it. Because it was a weekend, the beer hall was already nearly 80% full, even though it was just before 5:00 p.m. We ordered a big pint of draft beer and some hot dogs to snack on. We had another good laugh about the penguin confusion and then started sharing more about ourselves. It turns out the station nearest to Catherine's old place, and where I used to live up until 3 years ago, was the same. There were 3 lines at that station, but we both used the same one for our daily commute. I always bought a sports newspaper from the kiosk in the mornings. You mean the kiosk on the far west side of the platform? I asked. Yes, that's the one, she replied. As I nodded, Catherine mentioned she frequented that kiosk too. She always bought an energy drink there. I remembered I hadn't noticed her face, but I had seen a woman buying that drink several times. When I guessed the brand of her energy drink, Catherine looked at me in surprise. Did you ever bump hands with someone when paying? I asked. Still in shock, Catherine nodded. I checked her commuting times. Our schedules overlapped. We might have met at that kiosk at the station. I felt a strange connection with Catherine, and we planned another date for the following weekend. For our second date, we managed to meet on time without getting the location wrong. We had a meal at a casual diner and then shared a drink at a relaxed bar. I was quite the drinker, but she could hold her own as well. The conversation shifted to hobbies. I mentioned that, while I hadn't been into it recently, I used to be really into watching plays a few years ago. I'm talking about small-time theater groups putting on shows at little venues, not anything big. I didn't particularly have a favorite troupe. I'd just randomly attend a theater, pick up a flyer, and if it piqued my interest, I'd go watch that play. Next, it was the same old story. Depending on the play I went to see, sometimes it was fascinating, other times it was a letdown. The hits and misses varied greatly. I started mentioning the names of the troupes I remembered, saying, this one was a hit, that one was a miss, and another was a complete dud. You've probably never heard of these troupes, I said. Ever since I began talking about the theater companies, Catherine seemed to speak less. I wondered if I bored her with topics she wasn't interested in. I do know one of those troupes, she said suddenly. Really? That one? The total dud? I asked. I thought that company was as obscure as it gets. You know about such a company? I asked after a brief pause. She made a sour face and said that the theater group, it's the one my ex, who I broke up with 3 years ago, was involved in. I was taken aback and cleared my throat. In situations like this, should I take back what I said about being way off? Or should I dig myself deeper? While I was at a loss for words, she spoke up first. I think I was there at the theater when you came to watch. I was helping out at the ticket counter. Well, I'm not so sure about that, I said. I remember arriving just in the nick of time that day, barely making it for the show. Our second date ended on an awkward note, yet we made plans to meet again the following weekend. Our third date began with a walk in a park in New York, known for its beautiful cherry blossoms in the spring. I used to come here often for company picnics, I said. I've been here a few times with friends. I decided not to ask who those friends were. It might get awkward again if they were from the theater group. Although it wasn't cherry blossom season, the park was adorned with various flowers. Admiring flowers wasn't really my thing, so I quickly grew bored of the walk. Suddenly, carried by the wind, a savory aroma wafted towards us. It was coming from a food stand a little further ahead. "That smells delicious," she whispered. Hearing her, I turned to look at her. "I'm sorry. I've always been more of a pie than flowers person." Shrugging and smiling quickly, I added, "To be honest, I was getting a bit bored looking at the park greenery. How about we go get some hot dogs?" Nodding in agreement, we walked briskly towards the food stall, our hips swaying as if we were race walkers. We bought a hot dog each and a can of beer, then sat on a nearby bench. We idly watched families playing on the park's grass, couples, and people walking their dogs. Taking a sip of the beer and a bite of the hot dog, suddenly, I noticed a particularly large cherry tree right next to the bench we were sitting on. Oh, I think it was around here that time. Was it the year before I transferred out of state, or the year before that? I had a company picnic around here. Glancing around, I noticed a public restroom to our back left. It was definitely here. A new guy was in charge of securing the spot for a cherry blossom party. He told us that it was right in front of the restroom. I remember yelling at him, wondering why he'd picked such a smelly spot. That's thoughtful of him. When you're drinking, it's convenient to be close to the restroom, right? She said. She had a point, though I doubted that newbie had thought that far ahead when choosing the spot. Speaking of which, I once came here for a picnic and witnessed a fight between two guys over the restroom line. I had a similar experience, she said. Was it in this park? Yes, it was this park. It might have even been that restroom. I paused for a moment, remembering. When I asked about the situation at that time, a young man who looked like a heavily intoxicated college student tried to cut in line for the restroom. A middle-aged man in a suit who was in line confronted the young man. Then a scuffle ensued. That's when another man, who seemed to be an acquaintance of the man in the suit, rushed over and managed to defuse the situation. Listening to her story, the memory of that time vividly came back to me. That man in the suit was my director, and the guy who stepped in later, that was me. Yours truly. You're kidding. You were there that day? She asked, surprised. Both of us were surprised and impressed by the unexpected connection from our past. A few days later, after work, my director invited me for a drink. We went to our usual large bar. As soon as we sat down, my director said, "How's it going with your arranged date? I heard you've met her a couple of times." I wasn't sure how to respond. I believe I had a good relationship with her. However, we had only been on 3 dates. I was indeed attracted to her, and I wanted to believe that she had some affection for me as well, but it was uncertain how things would turn out in the future. I talked to her, and it turns out we've knowingly crossed paths before, I shared. Upon hearing this, my director had a pleased expression on his face, as if to suggest it was a perfect match. Sounds like fate, doesn't it? Suddenly, A thought flashed through my mind. What if she's in this bar tonight too? There had been a few times in the past when we unexpectedly ran into each other, but if we met in this bar tonight, it wouldn't just be a coincidence, it might be destiny. I excused myself to him, saying I needed to use the restroom, and started searching the expansive bar. It was a tavern near the office, and it wasn't surprising to see familiar faces. However, there were mostly strangers. That's to be expected, I thought, especially in a bustling city like New York. What were the odds of running into that one woman? Conveniently, I decided to give up on the silly fantasy and return to where my boss was seated. Just as I was about to turn around. "There you are," she said, standing right in front of me. "It's a coincidence, isn't it?" she remarked. I shook my head and replied, "Does it really feel like just a coincidence to you?" She stared back at me with a broad smile on her face. Are you being lazy here? Are you truly interested in losing your job? When I was eventually employed by the company after a difficult job hunt, I was met with the icy stare of Jessica, the president's gorgeous daughter. "If you can't do the job, come with me." I was taken to a location where the company was on the brink of collapse. I was involved in an incident there. I recognized the offender's face. I applied my unique talent to assist Jessica during her time of need. I had no idea how it might alter our relationship. Jessica was cold, so I was surprised when she abruptly changed her mind and came closer to me. "Hey, can you stay with me tonight?" "That is incorrect. Haven't I said the same thing to you before?" When Lisa, a senior employee, pointed out errors in my documentation, I lowered my head in humility. "I apologize. I'll take care of it immediately." To be honest, I had no idea what was wrong. It's important in these situations to own up to your mistakes and offer an apology right away, but she saw through it as well. "Chris, you think just apologizing is enough, don't you?" "I'm sorry. You see, you can't do the job because of this. This time, pay close attention. Write it this way." One of Lisa's distinguishing characteristics is her bluntness. She even referred to me as useless in front of me once. In fact, though, I value her candor. It's preferable to being abruptly and unexpectedly abandoned one day. I'm 25 years old, and my name is Chris. I currently work as a clerk at Anderson Travel, a small travel firm. It has been 2 months and 13 days since I began working here. My prior employment was in a completely different industry than a travel agency. But here I am, because I was so desperate at the time. "Chris, why did you choose our company?" "Oh, well, What do you think are your strengths and weaknesses?" "Strengths? I apologize, but I'm not sure." That's enough. This is how my job search has always been. My poor communication skills have caused me to flunk interviews at numerous companies. Ultimately, I was only employed by Anderson Travel. I applied for every job I could find because I couldn't afford to be selective, and I eventually found a job in a travel agency. However, I was immediately threatened with unemployment once more after I joined. As they hired someone like you, maybe I should start preparing to jump ship too. Jump ship. Job hunting is a competition to determine if the company will file for bankruptcy first or if every employee will quit first. In any case, the days of this company are coming to an end. It's incredibly hard to find a job at a business like this. On the company computer, Lisa laughed and navigated to a job search website. No success. I felt she might be right and went back to my desk. The business I just almost was recruited by was already doing badly financially. In the office, it was common knowledge that bankruptcy may occur at any time. We used to broadcast numerous TV ads. There isn't much left to see, but I do recall seeing them. It appears that the company's president, Mr. Anderson, has given up and is no longer actively involved in management. I heard the staff members' voices once more in the afternoon as I chanced to be strolling down the corridor. Nobody is afraid to speak candidly about the company's internal problems because it is widely known that it is on the verge of going out of business. So who's running the company now? It happened when they were looking at each other. Who authorized an extended lunch break? A piercing, authoritative voice reverberated around the corridor. Every employee jumped in surprise. The voice's owner, approaching them with a click of heels, was, "Give your name and department. This will be taken into consideration for the next layoffs." The person speaking with such a cold expression was someone everyone knew. Her large eyes, small face, and petite frame made her look cute, like an idol popular among the male employees. But her personality was cold and arrogant. Indeed, she was infamous for being heartless. She was Jessica, the only daughter of Mr. Anderson and the next president of this company at 28 years old. You all just need to do your jobs. There's no need to think about who's running the company. Or are you suggesting that I can't handle the job in place of Mr. Anderson? No, not at all. It's fine. Say it clearly, just like you were gossiping so energetically earlier. Go on. Jessica peered down at them with an expressionless glare that was enough to make the employees scream and run away. Only Jessica and I, who had nothing to do with it, were left behind. So, are you slacking off too? Department and name. Her large eyes turned towards me, and I, already weak in unexpected situations, looked down, flustered. Seeing this, Jessica sighed. Just kidding. You're Chris from the clerical department, right? What? I don't know about my father, but I believe it's essential to know every employee's name to determine if they are useful to the company or not too. Judging from your reaction, you won't understand unless I say it clearly. You belong to the latter category. I knew of Jessica's reputation, but this was the first time we spoke face to face. She was even more blunt than I imagined, and even more so than my mentor, Lisa. She spoke without changing her expression, completely emotionless. If you can't do the job, there's no reason to keep you in the company. Huh. Not understanding her words immediately, I stared directly at Jessica. She met my gaze head-on and said firmly, "You're coming with me tomorrow." The next day, she drove me in the company car to the mountains 2 counties over. There stood a small, secluded hot spring inn. This is the secret hot spring known only to insiders. It's going to be the highlight of the tour we're planning. We'll be staying here tonight. Oh, just so you know, this is strictly a site inspection as part of our work. I chose you because you happened to be in front of me. Reviewing the hot spring, enjoying a one-night stay with 2 meals, and writing a review. Surely you can manage that, so don't get the wrong idea. After giving me a stern look and emphasizing her point, Jessica walked into the inn without looking back. What are you doing? Hurry up and follow. Oh yes. Stunned, I stood there for a moment before hurriedly chasing after her. 2.5 hours later, I sat on a bench in front of the large public bath, waiting for Jessica to come out of the women's bath. She's late, isn't she? Surely let's meet here. Jessica had said before we parted ways to the men's and women's baths exactly 2.5 hours ago. I had come out of the hot spring about 20 minutes later. That means I've been waiting for Jessica here for over 2 hours. She said it would take time because she wanted to thoroughly check the quality and temperature of the spring. But 2 hours in that water. Having experienced it myself, I knew the water here was quite hot. I barely managed to stay in for 20 minutes, convincing myself, this is work. How could she stay in there for so long? She's amazing, Jessica. No, wait, could it be? Could she have gotten sick inside and be unable to get out? A bad thought crossed my mind. This is bad. Jessica, are you there? Are you okay? I got as close as I could to the entrance of the women's bath and called inside, but there was no response. My anxiety grew. Still, I knew that barging into the women's bath would cause a scene. That's it. I'll go get someone. Just wait a minute, Jessica. There should be some female staff at the front desk. Thinking this, I started running down the hallway. Almost at the same moment, I heard someone opening the door to the bath behind me. Oh, thank goodness. Wait. What? I turned around, thinking it must be Jessica. But what I saw was a man coming out through the curtain of the women's bath. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered as he quickly walked past me. As the man disappeared down the hallway, the door to the women's bath opened again, and finally, Jessica emerged. "Chris, have you been waiting here all this time?" "Oh, yes. We agreed to meet here." "I see. Well, you can go back to your room now." "But what for?" For some reason, Jessica was glaring at me, keeping a bit of distance and looking quite annoyed. However, I couldn't just say, "Okay, sure," and leave. "Are you okay, Jessica?" "I'm fine. Nothing's wrong anywhere. Just go already." But it was obvious to anyone that Jessica was not fine at all. Her skin, from her face to her arms and ankles, was all bright red. Her steps were unsteady, and her eyes couldn't focus. "You don't look well. You're probably overheated from staying in the hot spring for so long." It's not like I wanted to stay in there. I had no choice because my underwear... Jessica paused. "Oh, nothing. Anyway, we're done here. Free time until dinner." Without thinking, I reached out as Jessica swayed heavily, collapsing into my arms. Hot. The small body I held was burning hot, as if on fire, and it was incredibly soft. "No, don't touch me," she muttered weakly. "This isn't the time for that. We need to cool you down immediately. Can you walk?" "I can't because, right now I'm..." Jessica, usually so calm and composed, was mumbling weakly as I half-dragged her to my room. Her usual fitted shirt and skirt seemed to cling to her body more than usual, emphasizing her curves. But I didn't have the luxury to pay attention to that. I was driven by the thought that I had to help her. I cranked up the air conditioning and made her drink lots of water. As she rested, the redness gradually faded from her skin, returning to its usual clear whiteness. Her previously dazed eyes regained their focus. When I leaned in to check on her, Jessica's eyes flew wide open. "Ah, no. Stay away." Startled by her sudden scream, I fell back on my rear. Jessica sprang up from the bed where she had been lying and quickly backed up against the wall. She hugged herself with her arms as if protecting herself from an enemy. "Don't come any closer. Don't look at me. Turn around right now." "Oh, why?" "Just do it." I couldn't argue with her fierce tone and turned around as ordered. Then Jessica started mumbling something. It was gone. What? My my underwear was gone. When I got out of the bath, it had disappeared from the changing room. What? Reflexively, I turned back despite her order. Our eyes met, and Jessica's face turned bright red again, as if she were overheating. "Don't look at me. Just look at the ceiling." "Yes, ma'am." "That's better." When I looked up at the ceiling, she seemed to relax a bit. She let out a long sigh and finally explained why she had been in the bath for so long. "The water was hotter than I expected, so I decided to get out fairly early. But then I realized my underwear was gone from the basket in the changing room. No matter how many times I checked, it was nowhere to be found, so I couldn't leave. But it was too cold to stay in the changing room, so I kept going back and forth between the bath and the changing room until I started feeling ill. Basically, that's why I'm not wearing any underwear right now." She confessed the shocking truth with a strained voice. "You can look now. Your neck must be tired," she said. Even so, after hearing her confession, I couldn't bring myself to look at her. Still staring at the ceiling, I asked about something that had been on my mind. "So when you say your underwear was gone, you mean it was stolen?" "I don't know. But there weren't any other guests besides me, so it's unlikely someone took it by mistake. I hate to think about it, But there's a possibility that there's an underwear thief in this inn, Jessica muttered bitterly. Hearing this, a memory suddenly came back into my mind. Ah, what is it? Well, it was strange to see a man coming out of the women's bath. What do you mean, Chris? Jessica cornered me with questions, so I revealed it. I told her about the man I saw coming out of the women's bath just before she emerged. Jessica's eyes widened, and she pressed closer to me. What did that man look like? He must be the underwear thief. Think hard and remember. What did he look like? Even the smallest detail, please try to remember. As she shook my shoulders, I tried to recall the man's face. I grabbed the pen and notepad on the table and quickly sketched what I remembered. This is what he looked like. The moment I held up the notepad, Jessica gasped. What? She took the notepad with trembling hands and exclaimed in shock. Chris, I didn't know you could draw so well. Well, it's about the only thing I'm good at. No, it's not just a talent. This is incredible. The wrinkles around his eyes, his teeth. It's like a photo. I had always been good at drawing. Many people had said my drawings were photo-like. But I had my reasons for not taking those words as compliments. And this outfit, isn't that the inn staff uniform? Oh, now that you mention it. Realizing this, I grabbed the notepad and headed to the front desk to explain the situation. As a result, the culprit who stole Jessica's underwear was identified. Indeed, it was a male employee of the inn. He had snuck into the women's bath to commit the theft, but couldn't leave because I had been waiting outside the bathhouse. He confessed to the manager that he had been the one stealing underwear repeatedly. The police were called immediately, and the inn became a bit chaotic. We are truly deeply sorry. After the male employee was taken away by the police, the inn president, accompanied by the head of the guest services department, profusely apologized to Jessica. They also offered to waive the entire cost of our stay as a sign of apology. And of course, we will provide the best service possible for the rest of your stay. Are you asking us to overlook this? No, that's not our intention. Then no, thank you. Let's go, Chris. Jessica curtly rejected their offer, looking like she had regained her usual composure. She walked straight toward the entrance without looking back. I hurriedly followed her, and we left the inn together. Maybe I did something wasteful. We had a chance to stay for free, Jessica murmured while driving down the mountain road. A slight smile appeared on her face for a moment. It was the first time I had seen her smile. It's a pity for you too, Chris. The food there is reputed to be delicious. No, I'm glad about your legs. After we left the inn, it seemed like your shaking stopped. When I said that, Jessica's mouth fell open in surprise, as if she had just realized her legs had been trembling. You really observe things, don't you? With that drawing and all, I have to admit, I'm impressed. Thanks, but it's the only thing I'm good at. Don't say that. With your drawing skills, you could succeed in that field. Why did you decide to work in the travel industry? Well, it's a long story. I see. Everyone has their reasons. I used to be lauded as the president's daughter and the future president, but now I'm living in near poverty. Speaking more casually than usual and with a softer expression, Jessica talked a lot. It was a side of her that probably no one at the company knew, and I realized she was deliberately putting on a cheerful facade. When we arrived at the hotel in town, Jessica said, "It's late, so let's stay here tonight. Is that okay?" Understood. I'll check if they have 2 single rooms available. Just as I was about to get out of the car, Jessica suddenly called out to me, "Wait." Huh. Not a single. A twin room. A twin room. After everything that happened, I'm still scared. Look, I'm shaking again. So please, Chris, just for tonight, stay with me. Her large eyes filled with tears as she looked straight at me. My heart skipped a beat, and I couldn't refuse her request. Can you draw me? Jessica asked as she relaxed a bit on the bed. Draw you? Is that a problem? Not a problem. It's just, I'm not good at drawing people. You're so good at it. Please, I want to know how I look through your eyes, Chris. Well, it wasn't that I wasn't good at it. It was more that I didn't want to, especially if the model was Jessica. My style couldn't capture her charm. But all right, I picked up the notepad from the side table and began to draw. After about 3 minutes, I stopped and handed the notepad to Jessica with a stiff expression. Here you are. Wow. Is this me? Her eyes sparkled as she stared at the drawing intently. I had drawn her smile from the car. It was the most memorable expression I had seen that day, but I wasn't satisfied with the piece at all. That's not my drawing. Huh? What are you talking about, Chris? I just saw you draw it. Jessica tilted her head in confusion, but her next words hit me hard. But it's true. This drawing feels different from the one earlier. The one earlier was almost like a photo, but this one feels softer and kinder. Ah, she had hit the mark. I had intentionally changed my style, and Jessica had noticed. I mimicked someone else's style for this. It's not my drawing, is it? Maybe this person. Jessica sat up and took her phone out of her bag. She turned it on and showed me the screen. Displayed on it was an artist's painting. This was for us a long time ago. It's my father, my mother, and me as a little girl. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, I was captivated by the perfection of the painting, the three of them facing each other, laughing joyfully. A moment of family togetherness, captured in delicate, intricate watercolors so soft and gentle that it made anyone who saw it smile. This painting always kept my family together. No matter how bad our fights were, just looking at this painting would bring back gentle feelings. We faced many crises, but this painting kept us from falling apart. Now, I keep it as my phone's wallpaper, and it comforts me whenever I'm going through tough times. Chris, the way you drew me looks a lot like the way I'm smiling in this painting. Did you learn to draw from this artist by any chance? No, that person never taught me to draw. In fact, I hardly remember talking to him because he never showed any interest in his own son. Jessica fell silent, shocked. Your father is? Yes, I'm the son of that artist. Robert. Robert? The watercolor maestro. He's known by everyone. He's won numerous prestigious awards internationally, and his paintings often fetch millions. Such a great man. But as a father, he was far from great. His delicate, gentle artistic style was the exact opposite of his stern, often harsh demeanor. He was taciturn and difficult, always frowning and locked away in his studio. He never took care of me, never took me out to play, and I don't even remember him smiling at me as a child. I often felt sad thinking my father loved his paintings more than he loved me, and yet, in the end, I followed in my father's footsteps. Did you love drawing? I don't know, but I couldn't imagine any other path. Maybe because I wanted my father to take care of me more than his paintings, I ended up watching him all the time. Naturally, I decided I wanted to draw for a living. And after graduating from art school, I got a job as an illustrator. But it led to the biggest disappointment of my life. They're just riding on their father's coattails. Such a letdown. Those words still echo in my mind. In the end, this setback caused me to leave the company, and at the same time, I vowed to myself I will never draw for work again. My father truly is great. I realized at my previous job that I'd never be able to draw like him, no matter how hard I tried. The best I could do was mimic his style. We're the same then. I wanted to be a business person like my father. At some point, Jessica had lain down on the bed, looking at me. In her hands, she held the portrait I had drawn, cradling it carefully. I wanted to expand the company, be respected by many employees. I always wondered how I could become like my father. One day, he told me that a great business person can control their emotions. No matter how happy or sad you are, you shouldn't show it in front of your subordinates. Jessica had followed this advice from her revered father to the letter, to the point where she couldn't genuinely smile anymore. Do you know my nickname? It's the Ice Queen. They say I'm always expressionless, never showing what I'm thinking, and it scares people. Instead of being respected, I'm kept at a distance. And my manager isn't going well. I've been so frustrated, I ended up taking it out on everyone around me. I'll never be like my father. She crumpled her face into a bitter smile. Then, she held up my drawing. I love your drawing, Chris. It encourages me. It makes me feel like I can still smile, like this. As she spoke, Jessica changed her expression. She lifted the corners of her mouth and narrowed her eyes, mimicking the smile in the drawing. Her smile was awkward but kind. Do you really see me like this, Chris? My heart started pounding, and my face grew hot. Yes, I think you're beautiful. You should smile more often. Really? She looked at me with wide eyes, surprised by my answer. That's not really an answer, Jessica said with a soft laugh. Her first genuine laugh. But if you say so, Chris, I'll try. I'll start by smiling more often. This time, she smiled even more naturally. Then, she yawned widely and, still smiling, closed her eyes. I'll go to sleep now. Good night, Chris. Yes, good night. I dimmed the lights and laid down on my bed. But that night, I couldn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica's gentle smile. After that night, Jessica began to change. She started smiling more at the office and proactively communicating with the employees. At first, the employees were confused, but they gradually accepted her new expressive self. A sense of unity grew within the company, with everyone determined to overcome the business crisis together. And there were other changes as well. Chris, did you see the response? This time is amazing. You're our company's savior. Ahaha, thanks. I responded with a wry smile to the praises from those around me. Recently, I had transferred from the administrative department to the advertising department. This was at Jessica's strong recommendation. She had bowed deeply, asking me to save the company from bankruptcy. Chris, your drawings always catch attention. I know what happened at your previous job, but I still want to ask you. Please, this is my plea. With such earnestness, I couldn't refuse. Breaking my vow to never draw for work again, I took on the task of designing the brochure. As a result, Jessica's prediction was spot on. The brochures I designed generated a huge response, especially on social media. This significantly boosted the company's visibility, leading to many inquiries and numerous tour bookings. For the first time since the company began to falter, there were signs of an improvement in the business. Thank you so much, Chris. It's all thanks to you. Jessica, now able to smile naturally, came to the office to express her gratitude. Her bright smile filled me with a warm feeling. A feeling I recognized as happiness. Jessica was happy because of my drawing. Acknowledging this happiness, I also felt a complex mix of emotions. It's not because of me, ha. Jessica must have realized it too. I was deliberately drawing in my father's style, and another reason for the attention was that the brochure was designed by the son of the famous artist, Robert. You're just copying scenes. That's not what I call art. My father had once criticized my drawing. In essence, he told me I had no talent. And here I was, mimicking my father's style again, thinking I really am just a second-rate imitation. Without my father's legacy, I wouldn't have been able to make Jessica smile. The more praise I received, the more I lost confidence as an artist. Then one day, an unexpected visitor came to see Jessica. Listen, if our company's designer handles it, it's guaranteed to go viral. Why not give it a try? Hearing the voice from outside the reception room, a chill ran down my spine. No way. Feeling a bad premonition, I couldn't help but press my ear against the door. Then I heard Jessica's firm voice resonate. I've said it many times, but no, thank you. I don't know anyone more talented than him. If he is as excellent as you say, why not use him at your own company? She was smiling, but I could tell she was definitely angry. Even through the door, I could imagine Jessica's demeanor vividly. As I hesitated with my hand on the doorknob, the door opened from inside. Sorry to bother you when you're busy, Chris. This gentleman says he knows you. Could you confirm? I stepped into the reception room and lifted my gaze. That's when I realized my bad feeling was right. Of course, it was Kevin. Hey, Chris. It seems like you're doing pretty well, but it's all thanks to your father. You're still riding on his coattails. The man grinned at me with an obnoxious smile. It was Kevin, a former colleague from the design company where I worked. He was in the sales department, and the one who had cemented my downfall back then. I was struggling with my work, even though I was hired as an illustrator. Every time I was given a task, my boss, Eric, would reject it. The reason was always my father. Your realistic drawings are excellent, but our clients want warmer illustrations like your father's, for example. Yes, everyone at the office knew that my father was a world-renowned artist. Even if they didn't say it outright, they all expected me to draw like him. The gentle and warm illustrations like my father's, which I struggled with. Those expectations gradually pushed me to the edge, and Kevin had noticed my struggle. Hey, Daddy's boy, is it true you got the job because of your father's connections? From a certain point, Kevin began to persistently pick on me. Daddy's coattails. A huge disappointment. The only failure of the great Robert. Every time we crossed paths, he would throw those words at me. Eventually, I lost confidence in the one thing I thought I was good at, drawing. My spirit completely broke, and I left the company as if running away. I saw the brochure. Jessica, it's just a ripoff of Robert's work. He's only getting away with it because he's his son. But eventually, complaints will come in. You should change the person in charge before that happens. Replace him with someone truly talented, not just riding on their father's fame. Kevin was always good at hitting where it hurt. My father, who was indifferent to his child, but strict about art, must be furious right now, knowing that I've been imitating his style without permission. I started feeling that way. I worried that I was causing trouble for Jessica, who was working hard to protect the company. He might be right, Chris. As I lowered my gaze, Kevin, anticipating this moment, spread his documents on the table. Here are some designers I highly recommend. They do honest work. Kevin eagerly introduced his company's designers, but Jessica interrupted him. No, thank you. I have no intention of changing the person in charge. What, you think his drawings are plagiarized? What exactly are you looking at to make that judgment? You must be blind. Kevin's face turned red with anger as he jumped up from the sofa. However, Jessica stood up. Before I could react, she grabbed the brochure from beside her and thrust it in front of Kevin's face. This is a combination of Chris's realistic illustrations and the techniques he learned from Robert. In other words, it's a piece only Chris can create. We welcome any complaints, even from Robert himself, because I will give the same explanation. So, there's no need for your unnecessary concerns. Jessica's bold declaration blew away the anxiety that had been clouding my heart. I wasn't just a second-rate version of my father. I was creating something only I could. And more than anything, I wanted Jessica to recognize that. You'll regret this. You'll wish you had cut ties with him later. With that parting shot, Kevin stormed out of the reception room, his shoulders bristling with anger. After the door slammed shut, Jessica looked up at me and smiled brightly. Don't worry. No matter what happens, I'll protect you, Chris. Thank you. It was a somewhat complicated declaration for a man to hear. A few days later, Kevin made his move. This was delivered to me anonymously this morning, Jessica said as she handed me the document. As soon as I read it, I felt a shock that darkened my vision. Because it was the document accusing me of having relationships with multiple women simultaneously. It also claimed that Chris was embezzling company funds. These accusations detailed my supposed wrongdoings. That's not true. I know. I know your character better than anyone. I also know that these claims are baseless lies, and I have a pretty good idea who sent this. Kevin. I had the same suspicion as Jessica. Kevin's aim was not to damage my social standing, but to undermine Jessica's trust in me. I considered keeping this to myself and not telling you if I couldn't. Why not? Because it made me so angry. It infuriated me to think that you, who saved this company, were being disrespected by such a despicable person. Jessica clenched her fists, her voice and expression tinged with anger. At the same time, I saw tears welling up in her eyes, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. Let's fight back, Jessica. Chris, actually, I was thinking the same. But how? I have an idea. An eye for an eye. Jessica tilted her head in confusion at my words. The next day, I placed something I had prepared overnight in front of Jessica. Is this a photo? If it looks like a photo, then our plan is almost successful. We should send this photo to Kevin's company. Wait, this is a drawing. Jessica's surprise was understandable. What I had prepared was a drawing that I had painstakingly made to look as close to a photograph as possible, using all my skills. I created a piece with a level of detail that would fool anyone at a glance. For the first time, I felt grateful for my talent in realistic illustration. If we run it through a copier, they won't realize it's a drawing. Amazing. But the people in this, who seem so close, could it be? Yes, Kevin and some female colleagues from our previous company. Unlike Kevin's baseless accusations, this was based on fact. I simply drew what I saw and remembered. Hearing this, Jessica gasped. Oh, I've heard of this before, Chris. Could it be that you had a photographic memory? Yes, I nodded at Jessica's words. A photographic memory. It's the ability to instantly and vividly remember and retain everything seen. Since I was a child, I had an exceptional memory that astonished adults. I only learned it was called a photographic memory when I was about to enter the workforce. Once I see something, I never forget it. Even scenes I wasn't particularly interested in, I can recall and draw from memory. The one who had relationships with multiple women at the same time, as depicted here, is Kevin. Jessica didn't doubt my confident statement for a second. Following my suggestion, we ran the drawing through a copier, compiled it into a document, and sent it anonymously to the design company where I had previously worked. The results were beyond our expectations. Kevin, who was engaged to the executive's daughter, was questioned by his superiors and ended up confessing to cheating with several female employees. He even confessed to embezzlement, though no one had asked about it. Out of fear that someone knew everything, he muttered in terror, clutching his head. It seems there's someone who knows everything. Your photographic memory helped you when you saved me at the end, didn't it? After our successful retaliation against Kevin, Jessica spoke with a tone of understanding. She said it was an incredible ability, one too valuable to keep hidden. However, What's wrong, Chris? Seeing my uneasy expression, Jessica's face also clouded over. I revealed another secret I'd been keeping. I had a mild developmental disorder. It's often said that people with a photographic memory might have developmental disorders like autism spectrum disorder. I was one of them. Since childhood, I had difficulty communicating with others and struggled to keep up with school lessons. Even after getting a job, I had trouble understanding work instructions. Coupled with the extreme memory from my photographic memory, I was often seen as an oddball and spent most of my time alone. So, I knew that having a disorder would eventually be found out, even if I tried to hide it. At least I wanted to keep my photographic memory a secret. That's what I thought when I joined this company. And yet, you helped me. Suddenly, my hands felt warm, and I looked up. In front of me, Jessica was holding my hands gently and smiling. Thank you so much. Your talent saved me, Chris. Really? Yes, talent. A truly remarkable talent. It's because you, Chris, can use it correctly without flaunting it that you were gifted this ability by God. A wonderful talent. I had never thought of it that way. I had always believed that having a photographic memory meant living a life with more difficulties than others. I had even come to resent it, seeing it as a burden. But Jessica praised it as a talent. Is it really okay to think of it as a talent, to be proud of it? Of course, I fully support you. Jessica smiled brightly at me, and her figure blurred as tears filled my eyes. For a while, I couldn't stop crying as she held my hands. After that, Kevin, who had confessed to various misdeeds, had his engagement called off and was fired from the company. Incidentally, I also learned the reason why he had driven me out of the company. It was jealousy. He was supposed to be in the spotlight as an elite graduate from a prestigious university, but he was annoyed that I, the son of a famous artist, received more attention than he did. Now, rumors about him have spread throughout the industry, making it extremely difficult for Kevin to find a new job. I continue to be heavily involved in designing the brochures, further increasing the company's visibility. With the hard work of Jessica and my colleagues, the company is now stable and profitable. Jessica, who had tirelessly protected the company, officially took over as president. Under the leadership of the new, capable president, the company is expected to continue growing. And today, I'm facing a momentous occasion. It's quite a turnout. A voice called from behind me, making me turn around. There stood my father, someone I half expected wouldn't come. "Dad, you came." "I finished my work for now," he replied gruffly, folding the invitation I had sent him. Today was the day of my first solo exhibition. Through persistent work, I had gained recognition as an illustrator named Chris, not just as Robert's son. Finally, I had been invited by an art gallery to hold my own exhibition. It's late, but I'm sorry for imitating your style without permission. Thanks to my father's presence, I was able to confess what had been weighing on my mind. His response was just one word: good work. That one word was enough. In fact, I had already learned from my mother about his true feelings. My father had always struggled with social interactions, and after learning about my developmental disorder, he didn't know how to relate to me and became more withdrawn. He had tried to connect with me through our shared love of drawing, but ended up saying things that sounded like he was dismissing my work, which he regretted later. He had even secretly collected all the brochures I had designed in his studio. "This is Chris's own work," I see my father murmured to himself as he looked at my drawings. For some reason, his profile looked happy. I felt the long-standing tension between us dissolve at that moment. I heard a voice calling my name, "Chris." A woman hurried towards me from a distance. It was Jessica, who had come despite her busy schedule as president. "Sorry for being late." "Congratulations." "Thank you. Is everything okay at work?" "I'll worry about that when I get back." Jessica's bright smile made me smile as well. When I turned to introduce her to my father, I was taken aback. "Please take good care of my son," my father said, bowing deeply to Jessica. "Dad." "As a colleague, of course." "Yes, I will," Jessica stammered, her face turning red. Jessica, for some reason, looked adorably cute with her blushing face. I, who never forget a single detail once seen, thought for the first time, I want to remember this moment forever. Years later, Jessica sometimes looks back with a nostalgic smile. She says that the misunderstanding back then actually helped her muster the courage to confess. "Thanks to your father, I was able to confess to you, Chris, so let's continue to take care of each other forever." A gentle smile graced Jessica's face, and the ring I had just given her glistened on her finger. Smiling back, I replied, "Likewise," and held the love of my life in my arms.